Glitz and glamour at Hollywood's big night now on BBC Two, the Oscars. All the excitement and disappointment for the stars in the 67th Academy Awards, live from Los Angeles with Barry Norman.
Good morning and welcome to History in the Making. Today, for the first time on terrestrial television, the BBC is broadcasting the Oscars live. This year's ceremony is taking place here at the Shrine Auditorium in downtown Los Angeles, where, as ever, the only question is, who's going to win? The overwhelming favourite is the 13 times nominated Forest Gump, which somehow seems to have captured the hearts, the minds, the soul and the imagination of America. We shall see. Right now, though, it's time to sit back and, above all, try to stay awake. Oscar is about to take the stage. So there we are, one down, 22 to go, and we've just had our first close-up of Oscar, who, for the record, is 13 inches high, weighs 8.5 pounds and costs about $100 to make. So no, he is not solid gold all the way through. Dustin Hoffman once remarked that Oscar appears to have no genitalia at all, and yet wields a big sword, which I suppose makes him like almost every Hollywood tycoon there's ever been. Now, if you notice a hum of excitement in the background, it's because I'm at the Miramax Oscar night party, and Miramax is the company which distributed Bullets Over Broadway, the film for which Diane Wiest has just won the night's first award. Well, that was no real surprise. Everybody thought she was going to get it anyway. But I imagine Miramax are kind of torn between delight for Miss Wiest and a certain amount of sorrow for the other actresses they had in that category. Uma Thurman, Jennifer Tilly and Rosemary Harris, all films distributed by Miramax. Also, I think there should be some sympathy for Helen Mirren, who has walked away empty-handed. Now, Miramax is actually owned by Disney, but is still run by its founders, the brothers Harvey and Bob Weinstein, and is, despite the studio connection, is regarded still as America's #1 independent distribution and production company. And this year, the films that it's been handling, which include not only Bullets Over Broadway, Tom and Viv over here, Pulp Fiction, and Krzysztof Kieslowski's Three Colors Red, have picked up 22 nominations, which is far more than any single major studio. Now, the party itself is being held at Chasen's, which is one of the most famous restaurants in Los Angeles. It stood on this site in Beverly Hills for 58 years, which by local standards makes it pretty nearly prehistoric. And it used to be the favourite haunt of such people as Alfred Hitchcock and Humphrey Bogart. But now I think it's time to go back to the Oscars, because there's another award coming up. Right, well, now I'm joined by Tracey Ullman, and it's lovely to see you here, Tracey, but what are you doing here? You ought to have been in that show, surely. Were you not asked?
Well, they did approach me to do the opening number, I must admit, but I'm sort of glad I didn't now, Barry, because when they tank those things, they really tank. I mean, I don't think we're looking at a Rob Lowe with Snow White opening that we saw a few years ago, but I'm here to see you because I'm a big fan of yours. And also, I'm here to see Chasen's before they knock it down, which breaks my heart.
I mean, I didn't mention that just now, but they're going to knock it down and replace it with another shopping mall.
Like we need another strip mall.
You need another shopping mall, right?
It's ridiculous. Everything nice about this town, their heritage, they knock down. When they knock down the studios at Fox, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I know, but they're always very casual about their traditions and their heritage. And I mean, there isn't much heritage in Hollywood anyway. Still, let's now get on to you, because you could well have been a nominee for Best Supporting Actress, because you two are in Bullets Over Broadway.
I'd had maybe 4 more lines, Woody.
4 more lines, I know.
But I was just thrilled to start working with Woody. I hope this is the first of many.
I noticed how delighted you were when they announced Diane Wiest for Best Supporting Actress.
Yes, absolutely. It was a pleasure working with her, and Jennifer Tilly was a revelation in this movie, you know.
What about Woody? I mean, I'm a big fan of Woody Allen, have been for a long time.
Yeah.
How about you?
Absolutely, and I don't think America values him enough. There's been an enormous moral backlash against Woody Allen here the last couple of years. And as with Robert Altman, I just think they're two absolute American original gems, and they aren't valued enough. I mean, Woody Allen's movies make more money in Paris, I think, than they do in the whole of America. Well, hopefully these Oscar nominations of Bullets Over Broadway will help that situation.
Be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be great for him.
But I tell you this, I throw it out as a small advertisement for myself, but on Easter Monday we've got an interview with Woody Allen, which we're putting up in Film 95. And he said there that he is much more admired in Europe than he is in America.
Yeah, he really is.
But what is interesting, I think, about the 7 nominations for Bullets is that, does this mean that he's now been rehabilitated? Because he was a kind of ogre last year, wasn't he, when all that stuff was going on with Mia Farrow?
Yeah, I think he has somewhat. Yeah, it's just such a bloody good film. They couldn't deny him. It was a really good woody picture.
Yeah.
And do you know why I love working with him? Because he lets you all talk at once. And he lets you all move wherever you want to move, because filmmaking is so inhibiting when it's like your line and then my line, and I can't do it. I find it so hard, and so it was such a relief to work with him. The sound, you don't know where the microphones are, you don't know where the camera's going to be, you never get bored. It's so spontaneous. That's why it gets these wonderful natural results. So
well, the other thing about him is that, you know, for a man who doesn't have much respect for the Academy Awards. I mean,
he never comes to California. He says, the only advantage about coming here is you can turn right on a red light. He said, what's the point of coming here? I sometimes agree with him.
And at this very moment, he's playing his clarinet in Michael's pub in New York.
Sure he will be, yes.
But, I mean, he's had 7 nominations as a director, and he's won once. He's had 6 nominations as a writer, and he's won twice. I mean, the Academy likes him if he doesn't like them.
I know. He just won't come to California. If it was held in New York, he'd go. He can't stand it here.
Oh, well, yeah, I know.
He really doesn't like it here.
Well, Central
He doesn't
Park...
like going out of New York. He likes big buildings. He doesn't like trees.
Well, Central Park is the depth of the countryside.
Absolutely. That's enough wildlife for Woody. Central Park.
Apart from letting everybody talk at once, what were the other advantages of work? I mean, what else was it like working with him?
You get a great script. You get this script, and it was just a joy to read. And he's just a genius, and he's a genius for casting British actors like Jim Broadbent.
Yeah.
I was so thrilled to hear Jim Broadbent was going to be in it, because he doesn't cast somebody because they're good for box office or there's a buzz on them right now. He casts somebody because they're the best person for the job.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it is a fascinating cast he's got there with Jim, as you say, with Jim Broadbent, John Cusack, and yourself. So we'll talk a bit later, because I think the ceremony is starting again.
Is it? Here we go.
Do you think that last award, Tracey, heralds the start of the Go With Gump bandwagon that we've been hearing about all over the weekend?
I hope not.
You don't like it?
I'm not a Gump fan. It just left me completely cold.
Well, yeah, I think it's an American phenomenon, isn't it? Forest Gump.
It is. It kept making the same point to me over and over again, you know.
Yeah.
Stupidity equals innocence, and the innocence America has lost, and it's that mushiness that Americans have that makes us go, you know.
Yeah,
and I thought I love Tom Hanks normally, but I didn't like the characterization. It seemed to be an insult to stupid people. As soon as he did it, it was like, I went, I'm not going to like this film. I hated
why do
it.
people love
and all
it so
that
much
putting
here?
famous people in with him and having him be shaking JFK's hand.
Well, that's
Woody
fine.
Allen did that years ago in Sailing.
Woody Allen's done everything
A
before.
Dead Man Don't Wear Plaid, they did that then.
They did.
I mean, they're always putting dead people in things. Those Diet Coke commercials. I'm sure James Cagney is turning in his grave, and Humphrey Bogart's turning in his grave, that he's sitting next to some slag drinking Diet Coke on a commercial, Barry. I find it very upsetting exploiting these dead people.
Yeah, I can see you find it upsetting.
I think it's dreadful.
Yes. But I suppose that one of the reasons why the Americans like Forrest Gump is there's a kind of, it's the American dream, isn't it? That the American dream of wealth and fame is possible even if you have a double-digit IQ. And this must be a great compensation to people, a lot of whom have got double-digit IQ.
It's that they think this world existed, these people existed. They never did.
No,
they kid themselves that they had this wonderful small-town loving thing, and they never did, man.
Let's move on quickly because we're coming up to the next segment of the show. Next one, Paul Scofield out for Best Supporting Actor.
Oh, well,
Fingers crossed for him?
Fingers crossed, absolutely. I saw A Man for All Seasons, and I did that for my GCE O-level.
Yeah, well, that's right. That's
and
1966.
I adore him, and I like that film a lot too.
Me too.
Okay.
So here we go, once again. Good luck to Paul Scofield. Well, that's a nice little acceptance speech, I thought, by Quincy Jones. Sorry for Paul Scofield. However, I'm now joined by Tom Brook. Tom, the Forest Gump bandwagon hasn't really started to roll yet, has it? There have been four nominations, and it's got 1 award so far.
Well, I think we are going to see the Forest Gump bandwagon taking over pretty soon. And it is my feeling that Tom Hanks very definitely is the front runner. I think one reason more than anything else is that he is incredibly popular in this town. And he's been working very hard in the last few weeks, traveling around the country, picking up virtually every other kind of pre-Oscar award you can imagine. And actually, I caught up with him a few days ago at one of these pre-Oscar award ceremonies. In the days leading up to tonight's ceremony, Tom Hanks has had to field questions from hordes of reporters eager to talk to him about his Oscar night chances. It's made him feel like a political candidate.
I feel like I'm running for office, and I'm 20 points in the polls behind. I feel like I've shook in more hands and had my picture taken more often than some guy who's announcing he's running for president. And I'm not announcing I'm running for president, I'll have you know.
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
Playing Forest Gump has brought Tom Hanks his third Oscar nomination, but that doesn't mean he's now blasé about the Academy Awards. He says he and his wife behaved like farmyard animals last month when they heard that Forest Gump had won 13 nominations.
Did we squawk like ducks or squeal like pigs? Which was it?
I think it was the squawking thing.
I think we squawked like ducks when it happened, and immediately got on the phone.
If the past is anything to go by, then Tom Hanks will make an acceptance speech, should he win tonight, that is both impassioned and deeply felt. He will also let everyone know how much he values his wife. You always make a point of thanking your wife. Why do you do that?
Well, this woman freed me up in order to think a whole different way and showed me a lot of things about myself and my life that I've been able to incorporate into my work. And that's the easiest thing in the world to say.
When he thanks you publicly, do you say nice things to him afterwards?
Well, I just feel blessed in the sense that he doesn't have to do that publicly, and we appreciate each other in our normal lives. And so when I hear something like that, I'm only hearing what he has told me before privately, but then the repercussions of it are what other women say later on. My husband never has said anything like that. So then I realize, wow, this is sort of a special thing. It is.
You know, Tom, on television here over the last weekend, there have been wall-to-wall predictions that Forest Gump and Tom Hanks were absolute shoo-ins for Best Picture, Best Actor. The thing is, can he win it twice in a row for playing somebody who is, as it were, handicapped? I mean, last year he won for the AIDS-afflicted lawyer in Philadelphia. Now he is playing a man with an IQ of 75. Do you think the Oscar voters will give it to him twice in a row for that kind of character?
I do, and I think the reason is, as I was saying a moment ago, he is incredibly popular. He's very well liked. I suppose his main competition, though, in this category is really Paul Newman. I think that's who he's up against. I suppose, if that vote got split, then perhaps Nigel Hawthorne or John Travolta
lovely idea. Please,
could come through. I don't think there's any justice in it, really, because I don't think it was really the best performance in that category. I think.
No, I would agree with you. But it would be quite an achievement for Hanks to win twice in a row, because the last actor to do that was Spencer Tracy, back in 1938, I think was. So we're talking about nearly 60 years since anybody has done it.
Yeah, I think it would be an achievement, and I'm sure that Tom Hanks will handle it very gracefully.
Okay, back to the Oscars, because we've got a lot of British interest coming up in this next section. Okay, here we go. Well, that's, in a sense, a double British triumph there. Of course, the shared prize is very unusual, but I don't imagine that Ruth Kenley-Letts and Peter Capaldi are going to worry too much about that. And the other one, though, is Bob's Birthday. That is, of course, a little triumph for Channel 4. And Channel 4 has now become the most successful British film studios ever. Channel 4 television company. 12 of the 19 nominations Britain has picked up this year have come from Channel 4. And in addition to those that we've already seen, there are, of course, 4 Weddings and a Funeral and The Madness of King George. And this is something of which Channel 4's Chief Executive, Michael Grade, is very proud.
We've backed projects which have attracted a total of 12 nominations this year, which is more than several big Hollywood studios combined, so we're pretty pleased with ourselves. We didn't expect 4 Weddings to get any nominations because of the hot competition this year, Forest Gump and Quiz Show and various other movies. And we thought because it had been such a popular success, that might actually work against it, so we were thrilled about that. But the one that we were really holding our breath on was for The Madness of King George, which has not had the international fame that Four Weddings has had yet, because it's hardly been released. So that was an incredible surprise, and very happy. We worked hard for it, or the American producer did, Sam Goldwyn. In Hollywood's terms, anyone can be arty, but you have to be very clever to be arty and commercially successful, and I think that's been the trick that we've pulled off. The fact that we're now getting so many commercial successes and so many Oscars, which are an indication of international recognition in the toughest market in the world, in the United States. I hope that will help us in our argument with government that if they would release us from this terrible obligation to subsidize ITV, that we could pump a lot more money into the British film industry.
Well, that's congratulations, I think, once again to Channel 4. And in fact, in the next item that's coming up, in the next segment, Channel 4 again has an interest, because that is art direction. And those nominated are Ken Adam and Carolyn Scott, who of course did the art direction for the Madness of King George, another Channel 4 number. Well, Britain so far is not doing too badly. Forest Gump is not doing nearly as well as everybody expected. I can tell you now that it is not going to equal, or certainly it's not going to beat, the record of 11 Oscars won by Ben-Hur. So anyway, it could still clean up quite a lot. I think we just have to wait and see what happens next. Now, on to the ceremony. I don't want to sound too jingoistic, but Britain doesn't win that many Oscars, and that seems quite a long time ago now. We shouldn't forget that Ken Adam and Carolyn Scott have just picked up an Academy Award for art direction for The Madness of King George. But now, as evidence that you never know who you're going to bump into in this town, I have with me Madonna and Alan Parker. So it's true what they say about you two.
What do they say?
I'm Mum and you're Dad.
Exactly.
Well, actually, I haven't heard anything that exciting. Well, it was exciting. What I had heard was that you're actually going to make Evita together. Is this right?
We are.
Tell me.
Yes?
Yes.
One of you say something.
Yes, it's true. It's absolutely true. Thank God.
But this has been going on for such a long time, isn't it?
I know.
I mean, how many
How
directors?
many years? How many directors have I been through? 3.
Three.
See, I'm not the first, Madonna. God, story of my life.
But the good
But
ones
he's
are
the
worth waiting
best.
for. I
And
was
that's
just
the
gonna
most
say that.
important thing.
Yeah. So what are you two doing here? I'd have thought you'd both be at the Academy Awards
That's a good
themselves.
question. Well, the food's better here.
Yeah. No one in their right mind would want to be there, would they? I don't know that.
We'll be there when we go to collect our awards for Evita.
Exactly.
Ah, yes. Now, when is that likely to be? Not obviously imminently.
Would be 2 years, 2 Academy Awards from now.
We'll make the film. Yeah, it'll open towards the end of next year, so it'll be after. Yeah, year after.
2 awards
If
from
we
now.
can ever be.
2 awards from now, and then you're going
Don't say it.
You're going to
Well,
sweep the
okay,
board.
we'll say it.
Sweep the board.
We'll be here. We're going to
Hopefully.
be here.
Yes. Then we'll be stuck in that auditorium.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And there won't just be a little shot of you with a monkey that we saw about
No,
half an hour ago.
I
it seemed.
certainly hope not.
What do you make of the show so far this evening?
I don't know. It's actually good not to be there. I mean, Tom Hanks said most interesting thing of all is that the best way to watch the Academy Awards is probably in your pajamas at home.
Yes.
Which is probably everybody.
Well, you
in
can
England
throw
is.
things at the television screen.
And you can always get like an attack of Tourette's disease, actually, when I watch it, because I
Yeah.
get so angry at everything.
Exactly.
Here you have to be a bit more polite. If you're sitting there, I've been there a couple of times when I've been nominated, and it is the most boring thing to be trapped in that auditorium.
It's
First of all, you can't go to the loo. That's the most
Exactly.
important
It's
thing.
painful. It is painful.
What is it like, though, to be nominated? I mean, you're sitting there, and it's come to your category, and all these names are read out, and are you sitting there hating everybody else, praying? What do you do?
Well, I've never been there, so
Ah.
have you been there? I'm sure
I've
you
been
have.
nominated, yeah, a few times, and
Yes, he has. He's
Did
being
hate
modest.
go through your mind?
no, what happens is that you've already seen the Las Vegas odds, so you know that you're not going to win. or Ladbrokes in England. So it's kind of ridiculous because it's never a surprise because those guys always get it right.
Yeah.
So if you've done that kind of homework, you know that. But when they read your name out, even though you're not going to win, your heart goes thump, thump, thump. I don't care who you are.
But even if you don't win, the fact that you're nominated means you've been recognized, and that's a great
No,
feeling.
you still
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen so much
Secretly, you
hate
want to
on
kill
people's
everyone else
faces.
that wins.
Of course you do.
Yeah,
The
well-
worst thing of all is to have to clap afterwards when
The
you
worst
lost.
thing
Oh,
is
yeah,
when you
when you
lose
lost.
and the camera's
Yeah.
on you.
the camera's on you, and apparently, I don't know.
That's the thin smile time, isn't it?
Apparently, I always go, oh. Saying swear words. But if I ever got nominated a third time, I'd be very cool. But up to now, I've been very disgraceful.
He'll be very happy when it comes to the Evita nomination.
Yeah, well, when you go up as a double act, Best Director and Best Actress, yeah, that'd be fun.
That'd be good. That'd be very good.
Anyway, just before we move off to the next section of the awards, what do you think of the of the awards so far? Do you think they've been going to the right people?
Not completely.
Not really.
No, but I'm very happy that Diane Wiest won for Bullets Over Broadway because I think she did a great job. What else? I think Samuel Jackson should have won.
I'm going to have to cut you short, I'm afraid. We've got to go back to the boring Academy Awards.
Okay.
You know, Alan, it's a cruel town, isn't it? I mean, that award that Antonioni has just been given is known as the Intensive Care Award, isn't it? You've either got to be very old or pretty well dying before they give it to you. But fortunately, he looked pretty healthy. You're a fan of his?
He did. Yeah, he did. He looked reasonably healthy. Yeah, but I agree with you. Yeah, actually, David Putnam once said that unfortunately you have to be dying before somebody realises what you really did all your life. You know.
Incidentally, your friend has left us. Was it something I said or something you said?
No, it's definitely something you said. She probably, I don't know. Maybe Evita won't be made after that interview, Barry. But yes.
Oh well, we'll see. We'll see.
Yes.
I'm sure it will, Alan. I have every faith in it.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. The show so far. What do you think? Yeah, let's talk about the show, the way it's been going on. You know, they've had this theme of comedy in the movies. Does this ever work?
No,
it's never quite right somehow.
I think that,
bitchy.
The basic problem is that it has to be a theatrical show.
Yeah.
It's really stupid. This is really for television to billions of people around the world. It's only a theatrical show for the people who are sitting there.
Yeah.
And that went out of date like 30, 40 years ago. And they should just get on with it. I mean, nobody wants to see those songs. The songs in the Oscar section for the song for best song is obviously the most dubious award anyway, and for them to put it into choreography and for people to have to suffer that as a showbiz thing is pretty boring, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be. Why do you say dubious award for song?
Well, I have to be very guarded here because the best song is going to be won by Elton John and Tim Rice, I think and hope, and I'm very pleased about that, as Tim Rice did the lyrics for Evita, and deservedly so. They will win. But the best song in a film, I mean, it's a Disney animated film. They have 3 out of the 5. The other 2 no one's even heard of or remembers the songs in those films. It's a very dodgy award, but the music group in the Academy are very strong, which is why it survived, because most films don't have a song.
No, that's true.
In them, you know.
Well,
it's a dopey award.
Yeah,
really.
So that's presumably why one film has 3 nominated songs in it.
Yeah.
What about the standard of films this year? That we're coming to soon. What's going to be? We're coming eventually to the segment which decides which is the best film. What do you think of the 5 that have been nominated? Forest Gump, Pulp Fiction, and the others.
Well, it's, you know, I mean, again, you know, you only have to ask Labrooks to know what's going to win, and it's going to be, without spoiling this show, it's going to be Forest Gump. That's a very mediocre film, actually.
Well, that's something that you and Tracey Ullman both agree upon. It's obviously a film that doesn't do it for British audiences, is it? It's a film that does it for American audiences.
It's the American dream. It's what they love. You know, it's middle America, and it's like a dopey person or a sad, sick person.
And we are now back to the ceremony.
We're back there, and we're going to see a lot of other sick people.
I must say, I'm rather sorry the Macedonian film Before the Rain didn't win in the Best Foreign Film category, because it has a quaint British connection. It was financed by British Screen, and it is decidedly odd to find Britain somehow involved in the foreign language film category. Well, coming up quite soon, we have the Academy Award for the Best Original Screenplay, and British interest there lies in Richard Curtis for his script for 4 Weddings and a Funeral, which, as we all know, has already been the most phenomenal success. It only cost about $5 million to make, and in this town, believe me, people will pay $5 million on 1 wedding, let alone 4 weddings and a funeral. Well, so far worldwide, it's grossed more than $240 million, and it's made a star, big star, out of its leading man, Hugh Grant. But it's the producer, Duncan Kenworthy, whose dogged determination to get the project off the ground, who is really the unsung story, the unsung hero of the story.
Duncan Kenworthy is completely the unsung hero of the whole thing. He, you know, was actually the producer, and since the film had its success, all kinds of other people who were associated with it and associate producing things have been very quick to claim a lot of credit, and Duncan's rather been left out. But you know, he was one of the real geniuses behind it.
The question that everyone asks is, did you know that it was going to be such a success? And I'm not quite sure why they want to know that. I suppose it's sort of like, you know, are you magic? Do you know how to win the lottery? And of course, you know, the only true answer is no. We fantasize about it all the time because, you know, making a movie is such a hard thing that you fantasize about it being the best and the biggest and so on, just to, you know, make it possible to get through the day. But no, we never dreamed that it would be this successful.
When Bernard told me he was getting engaged to Lydia, I congratulated him because all his other girlfriends had been such complete dogs.
We're both delighted and shocked by the nominations. I mean, traditionally, for a start, comedies have a tendency not to be nominated for awards, in the same way that, you know, if you look at the canon of Shakespearean criticism, for every 10 books on tragedy, there's a essay, a pamphlet on comedy. So no, we were very. I mean, I can't believe my luck, and we're really thrilled that the film has been nominated.
Well then, well Tom, what do you think our chances are with 4 Weddings and a Funeral? Be realistic about it.
Well, I think that Richard Curtis is going to actually be up against some very stiff competition because he's going to be facing Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
And I think the Academy will give the Oscar to Quentin Tarantino because they don't want to reward Pulp Fiction because it's somewhat controversial here, being violent, with any of the bigger trophies. It got 7 nominations, so I think that's what will happen in that category.
Yeah, yes, I think you're probably right. What is interesting is it seems to me that Forest Gump and Pulp Fiction are 2 sides of the same coin, aren't they? I mean, Forest Gump is the way the American dream can work for you and be marvellous, you know, even if you have a very low IQ. And Pulp Fiction shows how badly wrong the whole thing can go. But yeah, I think you're right. I think that Richard Curtis is up against very tough competition there.
But I think Britain is doing better so far tonight than I thought. I mean, Britain has actually won 3 awards.
3 awards, that's not bad. So I think, yeah, 3 awards. Well, we've got 2 more possibilities, several possibilities coming up in this next section. So fingers very firmly crossed at this point. Then we go back to the ceremony. So Britain didn't actually win either of the screenwriting awards, which is sad, but not totally unexpected. On the other hand, we have got another Oscar, Elton John and Tim Rice for their song. That's the 2nd Oscar that Tim Rice has won, because he won in 1992 for A Whole New World, and Aladdin, first Oscar for Elton John. Well, now I have with me Greta Scacchi. Nice for you to come up here.
Hello.
Greta, you're in town for Jefferson in Paris. That's opening soon.
Yes, we're going back to New York next, tomorrow we're going to New York, and it opens on Wednesday night in New York, and then here next week.
What's the feeling about it? I know you're going to tell me it's good, but I mean, is it really good?
Oh, I think that the British won't have any problem with it. It's magnificent, it's very rich, it's one of the fullest, most action-packed James Ivory films that you're likely to see. So a lot of those old prejudices about Ivory are going to have to go out the window. But because it's about the biggest hero in American history, and Jefferson was the president who wrote the Declaration of Independence, so a man who everyone reads about and learns about in their history lessons at school. I think that in this country there will already be a lot of prejudice.
In America? Oh,
in
yeah,
America,
yeah, they're bound to.
And
I think that's almost
and of course
inevitable.
what it exposes about Jefferson, which a lot of people don't like to think about here or don't like to believe, is that he, like many men of his time in America, had relationships with the blacks slaves. And this is something that is a bone of contention.
Fine.
For
Now,
politicians.
you've used up almost all the time we've got available with this plug for yourself, but tell me, we've got the Best Actress award coming up next.
Oh,
Who's
yes,
your favourite
very
for that
exciting. Well, of course, I'm crossing my fingers for Miranda, Miranda Richardson, my country fellow, and Susan Sarandon definitely deserves an award. She's wonderful. Maybe not so much for this year's film, but for last year's definitely.
Okay, we'll look forward to see. Let's see what happens there. Back to the ceremony yet again. Well, the initial early favourite for Best Actress was in fact Jodie Foster for Nell. David Letterman referred to Nell, the wild woman of the woods, as the bride of Gump. I think that may have done her a bit of harm. Anyway, the next up award is for the Best Actor. Now, in a Gallup poll at the weekend, 58% of the people canvassed reckoned that Tom Hanks had to win it. It was just absolutely certain to be Tom Hanks, with Paul Newman as a not very close second. But they have both got quite a lot of competition. I mean, there is, in the first place, there is John Travolta, who is regarded here as the comeback kid. He hasn't been nominated since 1977. There's Morgan Freeman. And if Morgan Freeman won, he'd be only the second black actor ever to win Best Actor, and the first for 32 years, last being Sidney Poitier in Lilies of the Field. And then, too, there is the one who I think was the best of them all, and that is Nigel Hawthorne.
It was so unexpected to get the part, because I only knew about 10 days before we began work on the film that I was doing it.
I wish you the best of health, Father.
Wish me. You wish me death, you plump little cuckoo.
Hush, Father, hush.
For Hawthorne, the Oscar nomination has established him as a film as well as a stage actor.
It was a great relief, really, because, well, I knew that Sam Goldwyn had reservations, really, and in the early stages anyway, about my playing it, although he'd seen it here at the National Theatre. I think he thought that there should have been a star name attached to it, which I can understand. And so when Alan Bennett actually said, well, this is part of the deal, you know, I want Nigel and Nick Heidner, and he agreed, there was still an area of reservation. And it wasn't until he saw one of the rough cuts of the film that he started to get excited.
Back to your sheep and your pigs. The king is himself again.
I've had this fantastic film, and I'm very proud of it. So it doesn't matter if I do nothing else for the rest of my life. I've done this.
Well, it would be great, wouldn't it, if Nigel Hawthorne could win that one? But we'll wait and see. What about the actresses? I thought Jessica Lange was a lovely choice, but there wasn't a big choice this year. This has not been a good year for women's roles, has it?
I think that's a perennial problem, Barry. We seem to have this conversation every year, that there are very few good, strong roles for women. And it's interesting with that Jessica Lange film. That film was actually made, I think, in 1990, and it sat in the vault for 3 or 4 years while Orion sorted out their financial problems. But I do think it was right that it went to Jessica Lange. I think it was a psychologically correct award in a way, because she's a 45-year-old actress, and I think it's at that point in the life cycle of an actress that you need a fillip like this. And of course, she didn't get rewarded for a lot of roles that she did before. I know she got a Best Supporting Actress Oscar for Tootsie, but there were a lot of other films that she did that she didn't get rewarded for.
And the other one that I'd like one day to see win an Oscar is Susan Sarandon, or Sarandon, as I've now learned she calls herself. But that was not the film for it, was it? The client. It was not a film that really deserved any kind of Oscar nomination. Anyway, we will now go back to the ceremony and see who does indeed win the Best Actor award. Fingers crossed for Nigel Hawthorne, I think. Well, there you are. Just for a little while there, it looked as if Forest Gump might not pick up an awful lot of awards, but by my count now, Tom, it's got 5.
5 awards, yeah.
It's the leading actor, the director, there's only one award to come. It's got to go to Forest Gump.
I think that's going to happen. It's going to be Forest Gump's night tonight, really. I'm sure it will win the Best Picture award.
Yeah, it's not quite the big clean-up that everybody predicted it was going to be. But I must confess, Tracey Ullman said earlier, Alan Parker said earlier, they couldn't understand why it's had this impact in America. Certainly hasn't had that impact in Britain. And, you know, I look at it and I think, how can a film whose two messages are life is like a box of chocolates and stupid as a stupid does have had cause such a resonance in the Americans? I mean, you live here, tell me.
Well, I think there are two reasons. I think that the film is like a blank slate and you can project onto it what you want. I mean, I know when I went to see it, I saw this idiot, for want of a better term, careening through the last 4 decades of modern history. And you get involved. When he meets JFK, you have a very strong emotional reaction. I found I was kind of almost in tears half the time, but really not sure what I was in tears about. So I think it does have that kind of nostalgic appeal for the baby boom generation. The other thing I would say about Forest Gump is it is brainless entertainment. And without
Forrest Gump is virtually brainless.
He is.
To start with.
And brainless entertainment is very much in vogue in this country right now. There is a kind of anti-intellectualism which is rife, I think, in the country, and Forest Gump fits in with that.
I must say I'm very sorry for Pulp Fiction, which got 7 nominations and so far has got 1 award. Very well-deserved award, I guess, for Quentin Tarantino. Unlikely to get Best Picture. But that was always on the cards, wasn't it?
Yes, you wonder really what the Academy are doing, because I think Pulp Fiction, in terms of storytelling and structure, was really the best film in the Best Picture category.
Yeah, easily the best film.
People had a problem with the content. I think that there was not enough moral redemption in there. It was too violent, and I think that's why this has happened. But it kind of indicates that the Academy isn't really recognizing talent, filmmaking talent. There are other factors that are being brought to bear here.
Yeah, I think so. But again, you know, I think the dumbness of Forest Gump and the feel-good factor of Forest Gump. Forest Gump looks back to an America which probably never did exist, but a nobler America, and looks forward, or makes people want to look forward to the idea that it could be recreated. Pulp Fiction tells you about America as it is. So America is, like almost every other Western country, it is nasty in places, it is corrupt in places, it is violent in places. The Academy doesn't want to say that.
I agree with you very much, and I think it's ominous in a way, because you know, embracing Forest Gump is somehow denying reality. It's wanting to go back to the 1950s, or this vision of the 1950s. And as you say, Pulp Fiction does deal with reality much more, and people really don't want to confront that.
Okay, well, Tom, thank you for spending so much time with me here. We're now coming up one more award to go. But before that comes up on the screen, I think it's time for thank you. Good night from Tom and from me.
Good night.
And there'll be a specially edited programme presenting highlights of the Oscar ceremony, with additional coverage of the post-Oscar parties and some comments from Barry Norman on the results. That's tonight at 10:30 on BBC One.